they don't really know what was happening 15 years ago. They didn't even know who I was or if I played with this guy Ozzy or whatever. So in a way, it's kind of cool because it's like a clean, fresh start.
Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Belgian Jasper. If this is your first time in the channel, hit subscribe right now.
Gus of FIREWIND, and of so many things, of such a legendary person here today. Thank you so much for your time. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. Good to be here.
Awesome,
yeah.
Awesome. Now, Stand United is coming soon. This is the 10th FIREWIND album. You've been obviously part of so many releases in your career already. Is this then same old, or does every album still excite you, or is this one, because 10 is a special number, is it extra exciting, or what's your mentality right now?
I should give you the all-time classic response. This is the best album we ever done.
Yes, of course. Awesome.
No, I mean, of course it excites me. First of all, it's pretty insane that we've managed to make 10 FIREWIND studio albums. Aside from the live stuff, but that's pretty mind blowing that we're still doing it like 2 decades later, in a genre that's pretty underground and niche, And the other thing is, I always ask myself, like, okay, sure, like, it's not like everybody is. I'm not sure if the world needs like FIREWIND album number 10 or number 11, but the thing is, before I set out to make a FIREWIND album, the last few years at least, since the band came back from the hiatus, was like, do I have anything to say, like artistically, with this band? And if the answer at a certain time is yes, like if I feel like I have something to say and I have a batch of riffs or songs that I think are killer and would be great to present it to our followers and the people that care about this band, then I go ahead and do it. So, if that is not there, then if that type of feeling is not there, then I will not do it. Like, there's no point. So yeah, I mean, we take our time making our albums. 10 albums seems a lot, but we've been around for 22 years, and I mean, the last studio record came out like about 4 years ago. So we're not in a rush. We make albums like every 3 to 4 years. So we make sure they're really good now. Not that the other ones were not good, but like as time goes by, it gets harder and harder, of course.
For sure.
We've said a lot of things already musically with this band. So I want every album to count.
When you start to think about 23 years, soon 25 years, people are going to expect you to do big anniversary stuff. Are you a like, forget about maybe taste in music, but are you a nostalgic person? Like, do you take time to take a step back and look at like, whoa, this has been a crazy ride, or not so much?
Not so much, to be honest. The first time I thought about it was a couple of years ago, when the 20th anniversary was approaching. But maybe that was because I had so much time sitting at home.
Right.
So maybe I had enough time to think about everything. Usually I'm just like on the go. Like, we just go and we do stuff. Like, I'm looking ahead, what's happening in the next 6 months. So and I'm not a big person on anniversaries, even though we have celebrated the 10th anniversary of the band and the 20th with live releases. Like back in September, we put out a Blu-ray DVD, the Blu-ray release, and a double CD. So, and I think part of it is a little bit like heavy metal is a little bit of a nostalgia business.
Yes, it is.
I know that people think like, oh, when they hear certain songs, because our music is a soundtrack to our lives. So we always think like, oh man, I remember this when I was in high school or whatever. When I was on vacation that summer and that song was then, or we went to that show or that festival. So people think of their lives a lot related like that. So and especially like in rock and metal, yeah, it's very much about nostalgia and about yeah the good old days or the that certain era of a band, and that's always like a big discussion about amongst fans of certain bands. Um, and certain bands handle that very well, and they can go out there and do anniversary tours and things like that. And yeah, like especially like the really big bands, you know.
Right. Of course.
Iron Maiden is a band that always comes to mind. Like they've been doing it, they've been handling it so well and so classy, like doing these thematic types of tours. And it really matters for their fans because they're so hardcore.
For sure.
Yeah, like I mean, for us, you know, I don't see us that type of band where we could do that. But I mean, we could, but I mean, right now, I'm so much living in the now and just creating stuff. But who knows, man? Like I don't know what will happen on the next anniversary. Like last year was the 20th anniversary of the second album, but we didn't really do anything about that. Like I don't.
Yeah. Also, like we didn't. You know, this is what some bands tell me, like, you know, that had their first albums come out late 90s, early 2000s. We just weren't like today documenting everything. You know, like it's if you have to put out a 20th anniversary album, you want to add some bonus, you know, behind the scenes footage or photos. Nowadays, you know, on a phone, you've got 20,000 photos of one recording studio, but it wasn't the case necessarily back then.
Now you can just look it up on YouTube. Where were you like 20 years ago?
Yeah, exactly. You know, if we look at this album, because yeah, sure, it's the 10th album, but it's also in a way the second album, right? It's the second album of let's call it the new era of Firewind. And the second album is always like, it's a super important album because it's when something new has to confirm itself, right? Like a first new album is always, you know, people can do something new and that surprises people maybe, but it, you know, if you make some changes, the second album, you know, make sure that that's now a thing. Do you look at it in a way like that also a little bit? Did you feel it's also the second album of AFM? Did that make this album slightly different because people had some expectations before they listened to the album, maybe?
Oh, I don't know what expectations people have, honestly. I mean, but I totally look at it like that, like you said, like the second album of the new era of the band.
Yeah.
This is the second incarnation of Firewind, if you want. Like, you know, we're back to being a 4-piece band, like when we first started as a studio project, and this is the second album with Herbie as a singer. So, I mean, yeah, it's for me, it was important that this album is, like I said, again, it really has to count. We really have to. It really has to cement like that kind of first initial great response that the previous album had. And for us, first and foremost, and then of course for our audience. I mean, I don't know what is in people's minds when they hear how you know, there's people that really know their stuff when it comes to Firewind, and they will be really hard judges against us. And there's people that don't care much. They'll be like, I don't. I've heard all kinds of opinions, like, oh, I don't even know who's in that band anymore.
Right.
And then you know, we're kind of like going through a new thing, a new phase where we're discovering a new audience that didn't really know who Firewind was 10 years ago. Like we did these tours last year with Beast in Black and 2 years ago with Dragon Force in America, and like a lot of people had no idea who Firewind was. Seriously, like, you know, like the younger audience, the younger people that are listening to melodic or power metal, whatever, you know, the people that are into Twitch streamers and YouTubers and stuff like that are rediscovering metal now. They don't really know what was happening 15 years ago. They didn't even know who I was or if I played with this guy Ozzy or whatever. So in a way, it's kind of cool because it's like a clean, fresh start. So yeah.
I know, and it
I like.
aligns well with the new era of the band. And I like that you call out Herbie, because yes, the second album with him as a singer, and I mean, obviously, I had a chance to listen to the full album already, and
Okay.
it feels to me that Herbie is also just able to, he puts more of a mark on the album than the previous one. I think he found maybe more his voice in this band. I love his, you've always had singers that weren't that could have a raspier voice, like the
Hmm.
Yorks or any Deep Purple singer, if you will, any Rainbow singer for that fact. And Herbie brings that as well. But what makes Herbie shine is something that you mentioned earlier. Is okay. There's just a four-piece now, and we've had albums in your discography that were maybe much more layered and more stuff going on, more keyboards. This album feels a little bit more no frills, a little bit straightforward. We hear the different instruments very clearly. It's more of a rocking album than before, maybe. It is. Do you find yourself in that at all, or am I completely off here?
No, you're. I don't. I just don't think that the previous albums didn't have those elements either. We did. I mean, the previous album had even less keyboards than this one. Now there's more keyboards on this album, but we use them in a different way. We utilize keyboards in a different way. It's Firewind was always supposed to be like a guitar-driven band,
Right.
like to have that kind of what do you call it, like a blueprint of like a good guitar player with a good singer.
Yeah.
That type of that's how this thing started out originally. That was my vision about this band, and that's what I came back to 4 years
Yeah.
ago
Yeah. Exactly.
when I reimagined the band. I mean, I think Herbie has just been more integrated in the band now. He's just, we've known each other for 4 years. We toured the world. We made a record. We had the chance to get to know each other, discuss ideas, get to know about each other's background. When he first joined, I didn't really know him as a person.
Right.
He didn't know me either. We just talked about the basic stuff, and I sent him a couple of songs. He did great, and then off we went to try this out and see if it works.
Yeah.
And he did great on the previous album too. I mean, because he wrote some stuff on that too. But this one we kind of co-wrote everything from scratch. And Dennis Ward, who's been a co-producer, he kind of like took a backseat when it comes to the writing. He still contributed ideas, but he let us iron everything out basically.
Yeah.
And he came in and did his suggestions afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah. But and then I'll go back to say, like, I think Firewind was always a band that was kind of in the middle between, like, with the metal side, which was of course the bigger part of the sound, and then the hard rock side.
Yeah.
So you had we're a band that had these hard rock moments within a metal record.
Yeah.
So, and I think that tradition goes on, and it's still on this record. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
100%.
if you go back even to the debut album, if I had to mention any songs, you'll hear stuff like Destination Forever, which is like a fast power metal track, or Between Heaven and Hell, and then you'll have something like I Will Fight Alone, which is like a song that could have been like it's like a page out of Dawkins' album, or
Yeah.
And that goes on today because I have these influences that vary from Sabbath and Priest to Scorpions and UFO and things like that. So you hear a little bit of both in our sound, I guess.
One of my favorite moments on the album is the transition from Chains to Land of Chaos, because Chains ends with like a super epic, solo, and then we kind of go into this killer opening riff, right? So it's like in a matter of seconds, we get to see both these sides of you very prominently. Now, everybody that likes hard rock and metal knows who you are, and maybe not the very young people that you mentioned earlier on tour, but you're known as a fantastic guitar player. You've shredded like crazy with different projects, and obviously with Firewind. But for you, like, is there a difference for you? Like, is there something more fun, like coming up with like an epic solo like the one in Chains at the end, or finding that really good solid riff? Like, is that a very different process for you? Is there one that you prefer over the other? Because people think of you as a shredder maybe first, but people forget the good riffs that a Firewind album is built on.
I mean, I always wanted to be like a complete guitar player. I wanted to be a good rhythm guitar player and a good lead guitar player. So I never, even though I mostly solo and do stuff, but I never forget because rhythm that's where everything starts from. Like a good song starts from a good riff, and that's how I write stuff. Just make riffs. I don't write songs based on my solos. The solos are just kind of like the fun part of the album, where I just go through the backing track and just try things out and see what I can come up with, and then I add little touches here and there. And yeah, like you said, in that song Chains, for instance, I'll just add the main solo, but then I'll see what else I can build around that backing track. And like it's a very good example. Like when I add like an outro solo, like, you know, adding a melody that you don't hear throughout the whole song, but only in the end you just hear this big open melody, and you're like, oh wow, what's that now? So this is like the fun part for me on an album, but usually like the riff is, you know, the more important thing. It's a foundation. It's where songwriting starts from. You know, you just connect the dots. You put the riffs together, and you just trying to, you know, hopefully hit the jackpot and make it good. You know.
For me, it feels like this album is, you know, no frills, if you will. It feels like it has a live feel to it, and I'm going to use that as an extremely forced segue to actually playing live, because you're going to be busy. You've got, you know, you're crisscrossing Europe with Master Plan, which, you know, obviously such a nice fit for Firewind with Herbie behind the microphone, and then when you're done that, you're going to come over to North America. Oh, I should say United States, because didn't see any Canadian dates on the tour, but well,
there is a Toronto show.
There is a Toronto show. How did I miss that, or is that not announced yet?
No, it's out. It's been on sale for a while.
Perfect, awesome. I will see you there. There we go.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
It's only we only could make one Canadian date, and it was in like I really had to push for that, because I think the routing, the way the agent made it, it was kind of strange at some point, and I said, I want us to play in Canada. I want us to show up. Get us one show, please. And he could get us one in Toronto. I'm forgetting the date right now, but it's in April, like mid-April somewhere, like 15th, 16th or something.
I'll figure it out. All right, I missed that. I apologize for that, but that's exciting. That's going to make your schedule even more hectic, because jumping in and out of Canada, there's a lot of administration that comes with that, and you know, waiting at the border, and hopefully all passports are good and stuff like that.
Yeah, I hope so too.
you're gonna be busy, and so based on everything that we were talking about, that you feel like this is kind of like the second album for the new Firewind, and so there's elements that we've seen before, but there's a different sound, different band setting, you know, different lineup, different singer. What can we then expect from these shows, these two tours coming our way? Like, are we going to see predominantly a focus on these last two albums? What should we expect?
No, I think, you know, because it's obviously the tour to promote the new record, Stand United, we're going to try and present a bunch of the new tracks. So we'll definitely be playing a bunch of new songs. But it's going to be a good dose of like the staples of the set list, you know, stuff that we have to play pretty much. And then there's going to be a couple of new additions. Like we're going to do something from a previous album that we've not done before ever again.
Okay.
And we're going to bring back also another track that we haven't done in years. So there's going to be a couple of surprises in that sense.
Nice.
And you know, it's just hard to cover like all this material like in 80 or 90 minutes.
For sure.
So yeah, just gonna try to make the best of it. But it's gonna be a cool show. I've thought about the set list, and I'm hoping it has a nice flow, and it's gonna be high energy, and gonna have dynamics. And yeah, we've worked hard at it. And you know, in Europe, we're able to go out with a small production this time. So we want to present like you know, a new light show, a new stage design, and everything. Yeah.
One thing maybe to wrap us up that we can also look forward is a ton of new merch with the amazing artwork that Costin made for you for this album. You know, his distinct style jumps out straight away, and he's been making some fantastic cover art for many projects out there in the last 2 years. Came out really nicely. What made you go to Costin for this one? And you know, have you figured out like all the details and meaning already, or did he give you all the secrets already?
No, I mean, the thing is, you know, he made the artwork based on the stuff that I told him and what the album was about. It's not a concept record, but there are certain themes that are repeating throughout the album lyrically. And, you know, we originally started out writing about cardinal sins, you know, like gluttony or, I don't know, things like that, you know, greed and things like that. Yeah. But then I kind of moved away from that concept, and we decided to just write about things that aren't bothering the human mind, basically, and stuff that we go through. And so there's like a lot of referrals to, you know, I mean, a song like Fallen Angels about temptations, betrayals, and then you have stuff that's more like social political, like Come Undone is about the wars and stuff that goes on, and, you know, the war crimes. And then basically the front cover artwork reflects a lot of those kind of things. You see different faces, a collage of different faces, and each face kind of represents things. Like you see the greed, like a face looking up to the money god, and then you'll see like a warrior, which is war. You see like the face of death and a skull, and so all kinds of things, you know. And it's just all comes out of like the good and the bad, good and evil is inside of us, basically. And when I told him about all these things that I was writing, he came up with this, which, yeah, I think
it looks good.
Yeah, it looks really good. You know, he has his own style, and it just gave us a fresh new look. And it was something that we really wanted to try out this time. Yeah, we wanted that kind of a drawing, like a pencil drawing that marries the old school with kind of like a more modern school.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think he did a great job. Absolutely. And I think the merch will look cool, and the new stage design is based on his artwork, so it's going to be cool.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to that show and that tour. Well, both tours, obviously, but I'm also looking forward to you know, you releasing this album so that everybody has a chance to listen to the full thing.
Yeah, I'm excited.
There's some really epic songs on there. You know, I already mentioned Change and Land of Chaos before, but yeah, lots of fun stuff to discover for all the fans. Gus, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Pleasure.
I wish you all the best in not just the release, but the continued preparation for these tours that'll keep you busy enough, I'm sure.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Good to talk to you.
You are awesome for watching this video. Click right here to see more content like it and subscribe to the channel.